Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Big Bassmaster 1. Today I'm going to talk to you about winter fishing. You know it's winter, and the winter season is pretty much just started. So, it's December 2nd, and I'm going to teach you guys. I'm going to show you guys my favorite baits I like to throw, how to rig them, and when to fish. When I start fishing in the winter, you are probably going to get very frustrated because if you're a northern guy, like southern, you don't have to worry as much because it's pretty much warm. But I'm talking about people who, right now where it's around 30 degrees, it's probably not, it's like around 35 to 40 degrees right today. But I'm talking about the people where it gets pretty cold. I'm talking about below 40 degrees. Well, the weather that you want to throw these baits at is when the weather is consistent. I'm talking about, it doesn't matter if it's 30 degrees out. If that weather is consistent, that's your best chance for catching fish. But another good time to catch fish, more big fish than numbers, is when you have maybe a 40-degree day and then it'll quickly rise. One day you will it'll hit maybe 55, 60. That is a good day to go out and catch a big fish. You're not gonna, if for some reason on sunny days, if you look, a lot of the pictures I've noticed on Google, on YouTube, and a lot of people that catch big fish in the winter, it's always on a sunny day. When you look at the videos, when you see the photos, it's always on a sunny day. And that tells you something right there. That's because that weather's warm. So for some reason, when you have a sudden jump in temperature, that's when I see and I catch the bigger fish. Not so much numbers, but the bigger ones. Now on the other hand, if it's 60 degrees one day and you go fish the next day and it's 40, 35, 40 degrees, that's going to be very difficult to catch fish. But the best time for overall winter fishing is when the weather is stable. It doesn't matter what the weather is, what temperature it is, as long as that weather's been stable, that's when you want to go and fish. Today, it was 35 degrees, maybe 40 degrees max, if that. It was raining. And when I went out today, I fished for around 3 hours. I knew I probably wasn't going to catch anything, but it's important, so having fun and everything like that. But I kind of knew I wasn't expecting anything, and I hit some new ponds, and I hit the river. Nothing. I did get one little peck on a shaky head, but that's the only action I had all day long. But go out and enjoy the outdoors. But I'm saying, if you want to plan a fishing day or a fishing trip in the winter, plan it when you look on the weather and you see that it's going to be consistent. That's your best time to go fishing. So guys, right now I'm going to go into my tackle that I like to use in the winter and techniques. We talked about the weather that you want to fish. I'm going to talk to you about what the baits you want to fish in. Now, what I like to do in the winter, I'm going to go over my rod real quick. In winter, you're going to want to use a different action and a different length for what technique you're using, of course. But mainly I'm going to talk about line. I like to use fluorocarbon, especially in the winter, because in the winter a lot of lakes and rivers and streams and ponds, they clear up. And if you're going to use braid, those fish are already finicky enough as it is. It seems like when I use fluorocarbon, you're going to get your best results. I like to downsize a couple pound test too, to maybe around 12. I don't like to go any under that for baitcaster with bass fishing. 12 is perfect. 15 would be good, but I don't really like to go above that. But mainly I'm going to be using 12-pound test. Okay. So, let's talk about the baits. Probably the overall best bait that I like to use in the winter would have to be either a jig or a shaky head. When cold winter comes, those are my favorite baits. Probably my favorite specific bait in that would either be a Booyah pigskin, which is this, or a Strike King Tour Grade. And the favorite bait that I have is a Zoom trick worm or Zoom finesse worm. The finesse worm I like to use in the drop shot, and the trick worm I like to shaky head rig it. Those are my top two. And what I like to do when it's really cold out, you want to put a trailer. I always fish trailers on a jig. What you want to do when it's really cold out, I'm talking about it's probably going to get no more colder. The really cold months, I'm saying probably around 40 and below. Fish pork. You want to fish your pork on the back of your jigs as a trailer, because the reason for that is it's really stiff action. You don't want to fish a packer crawl in this cold winter, because that packer crawl has a lot of action, and a lot of times those bass aren't going to want to look for that action because it's going to be unnatural. You're not going to see a crawdad going 40 miles an hour across the bottom. You're going to see him kind of inching along, stuff like that. And the pork is really stiff action, and that's what those bass are looking for. That's what's natural to them. When it's warmer, I'll go more towards a little bit stiffer bait. I like to use a slop crawl on the back of this. This is a Berkeley Havoc slop crawl. That's got a little bit more action. It's good for a little bit warmer, maybe 40 to 50. And when it's above that, I always love to use the packer crawl. The pork's the best though for really cold weather fishing. And like I said, one thing I will do is, this is a Booyah pigskin. I just got it from my Taco Warehouse order. This is a brand new bait. If you can see that on the skirt, it's pretty long. What I will do, if I can find my scissors, I'll take my scissors and I will trim this up. So I'm not going to do it because then I'll get silicone everywhere. But I'll probably trim it up to maybe a ½ inch behind the hook. That's just a general reference. I like to make that profile a little bit smaller for the winter fish. So let's go after that. Oh, I forgot about another trailer. Another trailer I like to use, this is another pretty good cold weather trailer, is a Lake Fork Hyper Freak. This is a 3.5 model. That's a pretty good bait because it has a little bit more action than pork. But it's a really good bait to put on the back of jigs any time of the year too. After that, another great bait are crankbaits. Crankbaits work really well in the winter. One of the best crankbaits is a KVD Strike King 1.5. The 1.0 is okay, the 2.5 is okay, but the 1.5 is a perfect size. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's in the middle. The reason this crankbait is really good in the winter, especially, it's good all year round, but I find it one of my favorites in the winter because it has such a tight wobble. You don't want a real lazy wobble in the winter time, because that's unnatural again. You know, your tight wobble, that's where it is. The tight wobble in the winter time is really good. And I like to stay natural, like the natural shade colors in the winter, like that. Not really in chartreuse like that. Whoops. The next bait that I will throw is the lipless. Lipless baits are really good. This is my favorite lipless crankbait. I have so many of these certain color, and this certain crankbait. This is an Excalibur XR50, and this is in black chrome. Such a good paint job on it. They're really durable. This is a great bait to throw all year round, and this works really good in the winter. Another great bait for crankbaits is a deep diver. This is a Strike King Series 6. This is a great crankbait. Not only the Series 6, this is just how deep it dives. The 6XD, the 5XD, all those crankbaits made by Strike King, they're pretty much all the same thing. They just dive different depths. These are really good for fishing structure. But what you want to do is, if you're fishing 13-foot structure, what I like to do, I'm talking about like points, ledges, drop-offs, stuff like that. If you're fishing 13-foot structure, or maybe 12, you're not going to want to go with the 6XD, because that bait is going to want to dive 20 feet probably, and that bait's going to be digging into the bottom really bad, and that's not going to be unnatural. What you really want to use is you want to try to get a little bit over the depth that you want to go. So this is a Series 6. This bait's going to dive around 15 feet on 12-pound line. So if you're fishing in 13 to 12 foot water, this is going to look perfect. It's not going to dig in there really hard like the 6XD would. It's going to kind of, you know, bounce off, go up a little bit, keep on searching more, and that's a really good technique in the winter too. And that's a pretty big crankbait, so some big fish will eat that. Another bait that I find really good, especially in ponds in the winter, is a chowder bait. What I like to do is I like to put a Gary Yamamoto or just a regular grub on the back. It doesn't have to be a Gary Yamamoto. Just a grub on the back, and that is a perfect combination for winter bass. I do really good, especially in ponds in this thing. Natural color again. We got a couple more. We got a jerkbait. This is a Excalibur erratic shad. They have an Excalibur twitch bait, I think, too. It's basically pretty close to the same thing, but it's a little bit smaller. That is probably your better choice, but I can't find my jerkbait box. I don't know where it is, but I just have this one laying around. So jerkbaits work really well in the winter too. The thing you want to do with the jerkbait though in the winter is you want to pause very long. You know, you jerk it, and maybe in the spring you want to go twitch, 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 stop, twitch, twitch. You know, you want to go pretty quick. But in winter you want to slow it down, twitch. Maybe wait 15 seconds, that long, and you just want to slow it down. And lastly, but not least, is a casting jig. Casting jigs are really good. This is a Justice jig, pretty good jig, and basically they're going to be the same thing as a football head jig, but this is going to be more for pitching. This I'm not a big fan of using in the winter because bass are going to be deeper, but it does work in the warmer winter days. More towards early spring than anything else. But when you're fishing deeper water, you're going to want to use a football head jig. Football head jig is made for casting and dragging back. Like say this Justice jig, it has a flat bottom. This is made for pitching, short distances, stuff like that. So yeah. So guys, these are my winter techniques and baits. When to fish them, guys. This is how you're going to catch some nice fish in the winter, especially big fish. So stay tuned, guys. I hope you enjoyed the next episode of Big Bass Master 1, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next time.